Hidden in plain sight. Prologue. I am writing to you on this day in the hopes that you will hear. There is only one who is with me, and that one is the one of all things. There is nothing made without him. I speak from that one. I know nothing. What comes from me comes from him. There is nothing else. This writing is a preamble to what is yet to come, soon. That is why I hope that you can hear me. I am calling to you now and at the last call. There will be no mistake. This is not about religion or belief. This is not about opinions. This is about the truth. The truth is not what you think that I am meaning. It is the truth of how things are and will be forever. This writing is to help you come to a place where you can make a choice at the last call. A proper choice from a true place. There will be no mistake. Everything that is spoken to you from me is to help you center. Nothing more. Once that is done, my job is completed. Along this way you may see who I am. That may help you decide your choosing, and it may not. The choices we make start right now. There will be no going back, because there will be nowhere to go. This writing here is meant to help you. All are welcomed. No one left behind. The only ones left are the ones who choose not to go. It matters not who you are or what you have done. It truly is your choosing, but it is the last call. The world we live in. There is a lot of everything available to us in this world and other worlds. An infinite amount of directions we can move into. This world is confusing, in every sense of the word. In this world there is everyone's thoughts spread across the internet, TV, radio, in the streets and in gathering places of every kind. We can choose a multitude of paths to follow. Each one would seem to be correct and completely real in some form or another. We have multitudes of people following all of these infinite paths together and separately all at once. It is the same of any other world, just depending on the one you're in at the moment that is real at the time. So we must think, which is it? What is right? When I say so many different paths, I mean just choices we make every day on even simple things. I thought something yesterday was completely right. Now today, I think yesterday's idea was wrong and believe something almost opposite is right. Both times I'm ready to fight for it. So, when someone comes up with some idea that is all the right, we've seen this before. This place that we live in, the earth, the third dimension, abundance, whatever this place is, it is not. That's what living in this existence is. It is everything and nothing at the same time. So, you were right yesterday and today. There is a fellow tilling soil on the other side of the world who deals with life and situations in ways you never would. Living his life in the culture that he lives, he is completely right. You are also right from your life and culture. At the same time, it is like we have a wall up to each other's ways of seeing and experiencing. To help you understand maybe what I mean, use yourself and your experience of life as an example in this picture I'm going to paint. See yourself in a normal situation you can be in on any particular day in the life of you. Picture yourself looking at someone or group of people that live life in a completely different way than you. They could be a business person, a group of Tibetan lamas, maybe some people at the park, etc., either getting into their car or going into a building you have never been. They seem completely different than you. They are in a different world than you. They experience life and what is and what isn't completely differently than you. You are probably invisible to them, like you don't exist. This in a way is like looking at two different worlds, literally. The world they live in is different than your world. They are almost separated by a line. You are only crossing that line by stopping to look at it right now. This brings us back to earlier when I spoke about the multitude of paths you can follow. One path we follow leads on to the next. There are so many choices. Every choice we make splits off to another amount of choices. With so many choices, two of us choosing the same choices is most impossible. We even have a choice of what we each prefer to think. We find ourselves side by side of each other living in different worlds on the same planet without being able to relate, and each one of us thinks we are right. The guy in the street gang can't relate to the school teacher, but both, if you ask them, are right. Different circumstances, different ideas, different paths. If you were not so judging from where you are right in your world, and actually went to have an honest talk with the boy, man, woman in the street gang, if they told you everything about themselves in their life and their loved ones, where they live, you would see that they are right. This is the key. This is where every part of the current human wants to fight and argue to be right from their world. Then go get others that have the same world and judge together on someone they know nothing of them. It's their judgment that makes them right and just. It makes people feel safe and in control. Have you ever told a little kid something just because it was funny and watch as they go get a friend to tell you different? This, I'm to say, has caused some turmoil. Lots in some, more in others. It's how we have survived as a species. The thing is, we won't be surviving this way any longer. Everything was great what I have set up to this point until I made us all equal and say you can't judge. That's when the fighting starts and we go around and around again for a millennium. If any of us were right about anything, we wouldn't be here thousands of years later doing the same thing. Everything is right and nothing is right at the same time. It depends on where you are looking from. That is this world. I hope you can stay with me. This isn't supposed to confuse you but to make you clear. To be in a centered spot in the middle of you to make your choices from. More will be revealed, as a wonderful friend used to say to me. The fountain. There is a place that I have seen, it is a place that isn't what we are used to here. How it was decided for me to go there I may never know. It was a journey that I had to completely let go of everything from within myself, to trust that what was being presented to me was the truth that I had been searching for. I saw a light and a tunnel. I followed down the tunnel that wound, turned and crossed other tunnels. I had to jump over the tunnels that crossed through mine like a ditch. The light stayed ahead of me, and I kept following and following until it opened to a small room. I had to jump over a last cross tunnel to get to this room. The room looked like a carved-out round cave. It was very loud in there because of a large upward flowing of a vibrant, radiant light that was in the side of the wall. It was like a river. It was extreme, unstoppable power shooting straight up and out of sight past the top of this room. The room glowed with it and vibrated beneath my feet. As I was standing looking at the glowing, vibrant river, I looked to my left. Against the wall was a cloaked man holding a tall wooden staff. The hood was long, and I could only see the bottom half of his face. It was to me that he was a type of keeper of this room and this upward flowing river of light. He was there to watch it and I was in his room. I turned to face him. He was looking at me and after a pause he motioned with his hand by his waist. A gesture for me to enter the beastly flowing river beside me. I faced the river and everything about me said no. The next thing I knew I was flowing in it and surrounded by it. It was quiet, not loud anymore and soft, I was just floating. I started to look around and that is where the story of the fountain starts. This fountain is where all things come from, an unending fountain of creation. Anything that I thought of at any moment as I looked around would spring in front of me from the fountain. Whether it was as small as a boot or as big as the greatest tree. There were no limits of size, shape or type. It was an amazing thing to see. I was surprised but also felt some confusion. The thing about everything that came before me was none of it had any meaning or connotation attached to it. It was just the shape of the object, and in fact it was the object itself. Everything I thought of that appeared to me was like it was nothing, but within this fountain was everything at the same time. I soon realized that the meanings and connotations were what I had given to these objects throughout my life, that in their bare essence all objects had no meaning to them. They just are. It's what we have projected on them to make ourselves feel safe and in control of these objects and this world around us. The fear and the loss I experienced from these everyday things, as simple as a boot without the projected meaning on it that I'm used to seeing, sent me whirling through my soul. Of who I am. If I'm not that, then who am I? One object after another, I searched for something I could identify myself with, but there was nothing there. If you think of a great masterful tree, what are all the words and feelings you could attribute to what you see? Beautiful, majestic, harmony, life, health, very old, awe-inspiring, strong. In truth, none of those things are there in that tree. Those are all things we project onto the tree. The tree just is. We do this projecting with everything, and we come from our own individual place of our experience and the path we are following. It becomes hypnotic for us, to where those meanings we give to the things around us become the truth of what it is. The trouble is, depending upon the path you are following in your own personal choices, you will most definitely give a different set of meanings to the same tree, as another person might who is following a different path. But it is the same tree. The tree has no meaning. All those wonderful meanings I projected about that majestic tree earlier, to another who may be a logger or furniture builder, is seeing something different in that same tree. Or what if you are a person afraid of heights? That would be in your experience of looking at the tree, which would not be in mine. If you were a pygmy living in a forest, it would be home when looking at the same tree. This can be an extreme comparison of different views, but of the same thing. Inside one's head, these projections are not even thought about or talked about. We assume we all see the same thing when we look at everyday life. We don't. We see what we see, each. It obviously can be very similar to one another, but it is unique to each as we have made up our own projection on it as each individual sees it. It is a projection put on something in less than a blink of an eye. That's how we go through life. That's how we identify with ourselves of who we think we are. That's a boot, that's a tree, and off to work I go. It's really these subtle views of things around us that we never notice, ever, until that projection is not there anymore at all. When the projection you have always had is taken away. Now there is nothing around to hang on to and say, well, this is who I am, because this is a tree. Look, everything I reached for from the fountain when I was in it that makes me feel comfortable, at home, safe, knowing who I am, had absolutely no meaning, nothing to it but the raw form of what it was. Everything was stripped away that I had made up about it. I got desperate and started thinking of random things to try and hang on to, and they kept appearing before me from the fountain, but with the same result. The loss and panic gripped me like I was falling an endless fall. I didn't know where to go to stop this fall, and what to do to regain my feeling safe and in control. Still trying to use rational thought in this unruly place, I realized that I had been bringing to myself familiar commonplace things all around me. Outside myself stuff, since bringing everything around me out from the fountain that had engulfed me by this time wasn't working. I turned my full consciousness and attention to going inside. My intention was that surely I do know my body is a true part of who I am. I reached the palms of my hands towards myself and put them on each side of my face, expecting relief from this experience and a foothold on who I am again. For me to regain some control in this situation I was in. What happened instead was under my hands was meat, like seeing a carcass of a cow. I could see the muscle tissue and my jawbone and the teeth stuck in it. My body, my face, it was just meat and bone. I felt almost an embarrassment I could think that meat and bone was who I was. My panic hadn't slowed down but quickened. I was about to go deeper inside me, to try and find some solace. I was feeling terror gripping me and a loss of grip on reality as I knew it. I was completely alone in this place that I had blindly, but willingly come. I was realizing I didn't know where this would end for me and what kind of state I was headed. It was rapidly becoming known to me that I had no place to go. There was no feeling that I had my feet on the ground and some control of this experience of my own existence. Likened to laying down in a pond, I looked above me and through the thick blur of the fountain all around me. I could see a man dressed in white flowing robes. He was shimmering, and was outside the pond the fountain had created around me. I could barely see his shape. He was looking down at me. His face clearly seeing me as I was literally drowning in this place. He was standing on what seemed like a platform at the time beside the pond and reaching down to me to help me out of this carnal predicament I was in. I reached up without hardly a thought when I saw his outstretched hand. He seemed to be the only thing that was real in this place of the fountain, and he was here to help me. He pulled me up. I could not see his face. I didn't really try to. Everything was still such a whirling blur from being in the fountain. I just wanted out of there, and that's what this tall man robed in white was doing for me. He was saving me. What he was saving me from I wasn't even sure. There seemed to be a lack of time, but I knew without a doubt that this man knew where I was and where he was, and I needed to get out of here and go home. I didn't hesitate to do what he said to do and take his direction. I walked beside him along a pathway that thankfully led away from the fountain and the pond. The path abruptly ended as I looked out into a vast space of black nothingness with my toes hanging off the edge of the path. The man raised his arm out in front of me and pointed deep ahead into the vastness. I strained hard to see what it was. I was sure it was important to my survival. I saw some lights strung in a row. There looked to be 5 of them. They were teeny little lights very far away. He pointed at the middle one of the 5, and he said to me somehow without words, "That one there in the middle is where you are from. With all you have, concentrate on that one place and go back there." I immediately took to doing what he said. In the blackness the lights got bigger and closer. I concentrated with every ounce of my being. I could see my home and my place that I was from. I was able to return from the fountain and the pond, but I was never to see my existence the same again. Who was this man? Why was he different and separate from the fountain in that place? He was comfortable there like it was part of his dwelling. He plucked me out of there easily, like I was a feather swirling in a ditch. Those 5 lights were all different places that had a real existence to them in a different way each. I could feel and see that as I got closer to them all. The middle one was just this place that we live in and experience in our own way here. This place is completely real for us. I don't know what it would be like in the other 4 places, but they are just as real as here. This man wasn't in any of those places. He wasn't in the fountain either. I got the feeling he could be in and exist in any of those places and the fountain whenever he wanted and was never locked or trapped in any of them. He was completely free of all of them. He had his own existence, an existence we don't understand, free from the reality limitations that all these places represented. These places are all places we get locked into believing each place or situation as being our reality at the time that we are in them. It doesn't matter even if the reality is heavenly, it would still be yet one more place that we project ourselves and our own meaning to things that isn't real at all, just made up by us in yet a completely different experience in a completely different existence. Good or bad, it doesn't matter. All content that fills everything in existence comes from the fountain and flows into every reality. Whatever it is that you think of, it appears and flows into the reality you are in. You experience it in the way that you choose to do so. That is what we have in this type of machine that we are in. We can choose what our inner experience is of what's presented to us. What's also important is what we think is created immediately in the fountain and brought forth to us where we are. There is no limitation to this. The question remains, who was that man at the fountain? He was definitely in his own space and free from the bondage we seem to be in. I know who he was for me, he was deep in my heart, but the who he was is still another projection of mine. None of us know who he was, but it is who we are to become, our emoting nature. There was a time not so very long ago, when a young person didn't have much to look forward to in life. When people in general didn't live all that long as we do now in modern times. Growing up seeing people of the village and loved family members die of seemingly simple coughs or even a bad cut that festered in a child. A very real feeling of pressure builds that time was always running out but having nowhere to go and nothing to do. Growing old was not something to plan for or rely on. it was more likely to die young with something not very pleasant with no real help at all, as the closest thing to a doctor was someone with hot water in a dimly lit bedroom, trying to feed you an herb broth as you withered away. This way of experiencing life was accepted, and the few that made it further than that were the exception. The ones to beat the odds and live past the expected. What was their quality of life? Was that something to strive for and look forward to? I think not. With this outlook on life, knowing that you will die long before you have had a good chance to experience life being hungry, cold, and left on one's own for the majority of your time here, living in a muddy village that seemingly has no real purpose other than to find food and survive, one must start to think about how they would rather die than to slowly wither in a bed after a short, saddened young life. When you are young and full of life, it might be better to swing an axe and join in something bigger than yourself, to learn things like honor, discipline, camaraderie, and riding the biggest, strongest steed that froths at the mouth, lurches this side to that, and fearing you cannot control him, but you do, because you have become friends. You have built a deeper understanding of one another, you and this beast you ride, and are going to face death together, charging through an army that is there to challenge everything you stand for, battling every deep fear you have and every limitation, pushing through to beat the challenge and clash with an army that's there to kill you in any way possible. Defending behind you is your comrades, who are also your deepest family and an entire people whom you call your own. This is an acceptable way to die. If one fails in this swirling melodrama of experiencing love, connectedness, purpose, truth, strength, and conquering your own inner battles and must leave this world, then what better way than this? Atop your half-tamed steed, a silhouette on a cliff-side looking out over the horizon at an unknown future with nothing to lose. This definitely does look much better than dying sickly, young after a poor life. So the wars are born. Ideas are made of threats to your people, and taking from your enemies what was always meant to be yours by a birthright of some kind. And your enemy is in the same inner place of an idea about life as you. This conflict becomes an agreement to clash. This agreement to experience life in this awestruck way that no one can truly imagine. The experience of such a thing could never be described to another with words. Only when in the thick of it with horses and blood and the chilling sounds of steel and death, that you look through the chaos to someone you know deeply that you are connected to. A brother or an uncle you've always respected. To make that eye contact, then and only then can it be communicated and shared without a word. That is emoting. That is a language that we have as human beings. Growing up now in this world of young people training to a purpose, to a future that may be short still, but has a life to getting there with. Learning some deeper meanings of truth, love, and connectedness. A wife experiences her husband as provider and protector of home, family, and people. All this amazing experience in truth is built upon the ridiculous idea of going to people you don't know very well, that live on the other side of the mountain, and killing them. And hopefully not getting killed yourself, but if you do get killed, well, you were going to die anyways, and what a better way to go. This simplified version sounds stupid, but the complicated drawn-out human experience version only makes sense with emotions as an integral part. The fact is that we as humans have done this since the beginning of our existence, and are still doing it. We are still doing these wars on an individual basis as well as globally. Just that today we do it against our neighbors, families, co-workers, and strangers. We feel alone, disconnected, empty. The fulfilling experiences and emotions of the original purposeful actions of emotion are gone. The ideas of a fuller experience of life in the facing of the fact of death. The passing down of training from fathers and uncles has stopped. The schooling and discipline from mothers to daughters has ended long ago. Young people still need and want that deeper, truer experience to our existence, and are left to make it up on their own in gangs on the streets, or in the dark manipulating torture that is an Ivy League boys' group's way of life. What have the wives to look in their husbands? How does this way of being affect their home, family, and people? Our human experience, the depth of our emotions, and the diverse complexity of what we can feel may be completely limitless. This is what makes us unique to all other beings of this world and any other. We even line up emotionally and feel what another is feeling in order to understand more clearly. Even if it's a TV show or a roller coaster ride movie, we feel with the characters and experience their situation in that fantasy world from our own living rooms without going anywhere. Ensuring that experience of depth of feeling can be more important than death for a human being. If we as human beings were only intellectual, it would only make sense to let someone die if there is danger to losing your own life. Just step back out of the way. Not us. Squish. We both die. It is emotions that make us act and do things that intellectually doesn't make any sense. This must be a very interesting study for a race from other than humans. We build our homes and decorate them inside based upon how we feel and how it makes us feel. A picture, a color, the setup of the place inside makes us feel a certain way. So we like it or we don't like it until we change it and we feel better. How we feel disrupts our lives, makes our decisions, plans out our paths, makes who is in our lives or not, or what we do for entertainment. If you feel you are more a person that is intellectual and not based on feelings, and maybe this doesn't apply to you so much, I ask you to see how much your decisions on anything and everything in life is based upon you don't like or you do like, to be able to decide whether of these two you have a subtle pause first, and that pause is checking how you feel. From there, you intellectualize where you are going and organize it and such in a mental way. There is no judgment on intellectualizing or feeling. I'm just wanting us on the same page. One does not come before the other. I'm wanting to show as a human race that this ability of emotions is unique. This power we have is much more important and true to us in every day of our lives than we are aware of, because it is so integrated into us. Most the time we don't even notice it. Strangely, on this earth, feeling or showing emotion is the one thing we as humans try not to do openly. When we watch a movie, there is an actor who is acting or pretending in a way to evoke an emotion upon the human viewer. We as the viewer align with the one pretending to be feeling something at the moment. Whether it be intense violence or heartfelt love. Doesn't matter, it's all emotions and feeling. The best actors become the role they are playing and feel the emotions of the character that is being portrayed to us. Then we feel it too. In today's world, we have this belief that we are completely separate from one another, aside from being attached to family, persons, and things. Otherwise, we are in our own separate shells of our bodies and minds that we walk along in. It is solitary, confined, and private in there. As humans, we can align with feelings. We think we are in our own private world inside ourselves. If we exhibit our emotions openly and freely, subtly we know others will be able to align with us by feeling what we are feeling and know our private world. Our inner world is private because of the change from a true sense of connectedness, love, honor, humility, fear, strength, self-conquering, etc., to this modern world of individuals trying to teach themselves these amazing, deep, limitless experiences, without our fathers or mothers and the ones before us passing it on to us of how to follow that line that we can follow that brings us to those connected emotions, those true emotions that make us human. There has been a twisted sense of things based on what we need as humans. It is like a food we need to have for our emotions. That is why we have entertainment of all and of any kind. It is to placate our need for a truer, deeper experience of emotion and feeling, to placate us so we feel like we can rest now, and we no longer keep looking deeper. Even going for a walk is emotional entertainment. Looking at the trees, breathing the air, all of it makes us feel what it does. We calm down and feel refreshed. Emotion is an ability or power that we have. Once we have that true knowledge from within ourselves, where the emotions originate from and of what emotions are, we can then direct them properly and truthfully. That's what truth is. Truth is not from the mind. That's why we can't understand a parable or teaching properly from the mind until we feel it. Truth is emotion, not mental thought and judgment. The teacher is using the mind to extend an emotion. The mind and emotion are two different languages. The listener is receiving with his mind, and his mind doesn't know how to translate it to the language of the emotion. The mind is needed to direct emotion, like a funnel or a pushing motion. The mind moves it for us. The emotional language can be specific to details that can never be with the mind. When an emotion is shared of its truest sense, it is the two young men in the battlefield that gain eye contact from across the fighting, chaos, and death. They know beyond anything without words and understanding. They align the emotional language to each other that tells them everything. Truth. There is no lie in the emotional language. Each of us as a human being, if we know what emotions are meant for, can be an individual superpower. Us as a group that aligns to the same emotion can direct this power to a common need for all. What I'm saying now to you is that emotions are nothing of what we are used to thinking they are. Emotions have been made into a secondary thing we have that has very little meaning or say in our lives. That feelings are fleeting and not truthful. This has happened to us because we have never known or understood what the emotions are or what they really do. We have not understood how incredibly unique we really are, and emotions is what makes us that way. I'm not speaking of the weeping, sloshy, and messy kind of emotions, although you will have to go through that type of emotion to get to the emotion I am speaking of. Rid your mind of what emotional language may mean to you, and start fresh and open to be able to understand me now. I am speaking of the deeper emotions we have. These have rarely been tapped by humans, but when they have been, there have been legends born and written about through the ages. These emotions are solid and healthy. They know what they are. They are whole and complete in themselves. They are sitting within us waiting to be used as a tool and a language. They are strength beyond what we can dream. These emotions can be expressed using sound and or body language, but not a requisite. Like the men in the battlefield needed nothing but the connection to each other to communicate emotionally. They were standing in truth. They stood in that moment completely in the present, without wavering for a time. Time stood still with no movement. For them there was no time. What was around them no longer meant anything. None of it had meaning anymore. It was just happening around them, surrounding them. In that place they were in, even if it was just for a moment, was great power. More power than what has ever been created in all of creation. Does this power we have the power to stop the machine of the fountain itself? If it can be there in a fleeting moment, does it not say that regardless of how we get there or for how long it is there for us? It is within us. If we could exist in this paradigm completely without it being by chance, if we were arriving at this experience of existence at will just because we know where it is within us, we could go to that place within and become that power that we are and direct it. Emotion is truth. This power cannot be misused. Could we be free like the tall, white-robed man that pulled me from the fountain? Is he even a man? The fountain fills all of the realities besides this one we experience. If we did stop the fountain, wouldn't that affect much more than just here and our experience? I think that is why we are protected from ones who would like us humans destroyed. We are more than just a curiosity. Sounds like something that is beyond anything that we can do anytime soon. Well, this change is the change we are expected to do. This is what this book is about. This is what the last call is about. That's exactly what the last call is. It's the last one. Last time to board the train. The train going to the new existence for all of us. Changes. Those who choose not to come won't. There is a lot to help you. If you want it, the help for you will be mesmerizing magic that seems to come from nowhere. The only time it hurts or gets hard is when we fight it. We want to hang on to the old ways. The old ways of how we perceive what our existence is. The old way of seeing and believing we are nothing, walking, talking lumps of meat, with no connection to anything or direction. Soulless beings. That's what we have been taught, and that is what I'm helping you to do, to change how you perceive this existence we are all in. If you are reading this book, you have already decided what it is that you want. I am helping you to get clear so, when the time comes, you can make your decision from that deeper, more powerful place. From that deep emotion that will radiate from you that will help others who want the same thing. Others will align with your emotion to their emotion, and that can be emoted out, radiated out around the earth and to the universe. This will be the end of what is not truth. There will be no more pain and strife as we have known it. Before this, there will be a very big fight on the earth. There will be those who want to hang on to their own bondage and believe that being who they truly are from within their own selves is wrong. This is what we have taught ourselves for a millennium. There have been those legendary people that have stood up against this teaching of human self-shame. Some, if not all, have been killed for doing it. It's funny how we make them the legend of. We tell the story bit by bit of what was done. It's always of one who had broken free from the confines of our normal, structured lives. The world is usually against them. People don't want the boat rocked because they won't feel safe. The person is breaking free and must be destroyed so it doesn't spread. In that we all learn freedom is dangerous and is a threat to humankind. Truly is, thank God. It is a threat to the human existence. That's why we revere the ones who try, because deep down we know that is what we need to do. That is where the truth is. To break free. Making this powerful change that I am speaking of also implies to some that we will all be equal. Those people quite like the inequality of today because they are on top. These ones feel they are not affected in their perceptions of the populations. They would like things to remain as they are. They don't mind the starving children, the dying people of the earth. They don't mind the populations of people who have to trade their lives for money to survive and die with nothing. This existence we have had is all suffering, including for the ones on top. If you spoke to them in a deeper way, they would crumble to the truth that they are completely unhappy and suffering. They have only given themselves and others the illusion of a happy life, when none of it is true. It is for this reason that the fighting is allowed to happen. Like I said in the beginning, nothing will stop the change. Fighting it makes no difference to the outcome. The suffering is continued so that every person has that chance right to the very last of the last call to come. Then it will be over. To an end of suffering. The change that has come for the human race cannot be stopped. It is His will. In the days after the last call there will be a lot that is different, but a lot that remains the same. The changes that happen are changes that happen within us. How we perceive and project our reality is what the change is. What happens to us and our surroundings when our perceptions and projections change. What comes from the fountain will change because we are thinking differently, and what we think is what will manifest from the fountain. Everyone is different in today's world and will still be different and unique in the new world. Being equal doesn't mean being the same. There will be people who run things and people who follow. There will be people who can make the world shake and people who shake their behinds. There will be people with talents of helping others heal and people who heal themselves. There will be a lot of fun because of what has been left behind and no longer pulls us down. The main difference in the setting is that it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. You are equal in respect to love, gender, beliefs, mental capacity, emotional capacity, family origin, race. Everything. This equality is not because this new way is just so amazingly better, and these are the ideals that people want to uphold. It is because the projections that we have had are gone. We as a group are seeing this world and existence as it really is. This world will remain to be experienced as real and solid. Our perception and understanding within us will be completely different. We won't be fallen into thinking our projections are real and defining ourselves with this world and its objects as who we are. We will have the true experiential understanding that we are not of this world but are just in it, that the objects and the world are neutral. These things surround us as we look out our eyes into this world, but it is not where we are from. We are just in it. What someone else experiences here no longer matters to how our own experience is. That is their experience. Their experience does not contain the passage of rights to us. They are bringing from the fountain what they want, good or bad. The fountain has no judgment, it does not decide upon anything. It is like a computer, you put in and it puts out. We all will be able to consciously manifest from the fountain into our lives. We will be free of the bondage we have carried for so long. With this understanding comes a huge multitude of changes that happens without effort or thought, just naturally because of the sudden change of mind and emotion. Self-responsibility changes. Projecting on a partner changes. Choosing a partner is based on similar ideas that are wanting to be manifested. Being attached to people, ideas, objects, places will not be as it is today. We will love, want, be happy and sad, knowing that none of these emotions we are feeling are who we are or is the reason for what is outside of us. We have identified with our feelings as who we are, the same as we project on objects around us. We are not what we feel. Our emotions are a guide. They are a segregated tool, just as the mind is also. It is something we use to understand ourselves and others. It is used as a communication tool. What we are is the one who is looking out our eyes, that one that is seeing. That one is the one whom you are. Our natural self does not have attachments or control. From that place we do not judge. We experience. We view the wonderful creation that we manifest from the fountain. We experience the emotions, feelings and thoughts that arise from our being with what we are seeing. We are never attached to it or identify with it. Everything is in a flow. So in that, the attachment to those things do not hang on to us and are available to be easily let go of. The letting go of and the hanging on to the attachments we have today is the cause of so much of our pain and suffering. We have our attachments in the first place because of what and who we believe we are. We believe we are this place by projecting and identifying ourselves onto the objects and people around us. We stay in control of the never-ending river of change that flows all around us. We do this in fear every day because there is absolutely no control over the river. We just tell ourselves there is control to feel like we have some foothold on this place and who we are. We then head out to our lives with soul-seated fear. Whether it is at our forefront or buried deep within us, where we don't see it or feel it, that fear runs our lives and makes our decisions. We are alone here, so we surround ourselves with people and groups to not feel so alone. As soon as someone leaves, or a situation changes, we feel that aloneness again. This is where attachment comes from, trying to not be alone in our existence here. We are born alone and we die alone. We know that. What we don't know is where we came from or where we are going to go. This frightens us to our soul because we don't know if we came from or are going to anywhere at all. Maybe we don't even have a soul. This has been the truth since the beginning of our time. So we try and glom on to everything in between our birth and our death. That's why it hurts us so bad to a point of feeling it is being ripped from your soul when it is taken away. It's because it has been made an issue of your soul. This pain you feel is because you have based your soul, your existence, where you come from and are going, on keeping everything under control. We try to keep the people around us as a feeling of safety, making others responsible for our feelings and need, keeping others responsible for us being lost in a world of lost souls. None of these ideas are correct to begin with. That's all they are, ideas we have made. It is all a fallacy. It's all made up because we know nothing of ourselves. We are all like the street gang of kids trying to teach ourselves and each other something we know nothing about. That is what I found within the pond of that fountain. I was put through a crash course in loss of attachment and control. It took weeks for me to recover from the experience of there being no attachments, having no projected meanings on anything in my surroundings. I had awoken in my home with a start. Sitting up abruptly, I had a deep life-giving breath like I had not been breathing at all. It was like the first breath I had ever taken. That deep breath filled me to my toes as I pushed myself to be back into this body. I was back here again. There is a part of me that wonders if I had been dead for the time I was gone or close to it, and the white-robed man sent me back before it was too late. I recovered, but I was never the same. The first hour back in this world of nothing and everything was the worst. I was panicking from the experience I just returned from. I wanted something to hang on to that would make me feel grounded and safe. My friend at the time was in my home when I came back from the fountain. I immediately hugged her, trying to feel safe and home again. I experienced her as a bag of moving bones that could talk under my arms that were around her shoulders. It was chilling. Instead of me feeling safely back at home, that made me panic more. My experience at the fountain was still with me. Everything looked black and white. It was quite obvious to me that my friend wasn't at all what I had once thought she was, nor was anything else. It was only my projections of her and my surroundings that had been removed. I hadn't escaped the fountain yet. I felt as though I had to find something to make me feel safe, so that I wouldn't go back to the place I had just come. Everything I grabbed on to wasn't real, and it was gray. I felt as if I could fall out of my own body at any moment. That went on for a time. Me, trying to find something to make me feel safe, and my friend panicking, trying to find out what was happening with me. Complete craziness just out of the blue when she thought I was just having a nap. I was having the same experience here at home as I was still in the fountain upon my return. I was still placing things in front of me that I could try to identify with. Nothing had any of the meaning I once placed on it. This was happening after I had come back home from the fountain, because this place we live is the same as the fountain. Everything that is here around us comes from the fountain. I remember it all still very clearly. That was around 22 years ago. That is how enmeshed we are with attachment and don't even know it. If our attachments are suddenly removed, we don't know who we are, where we are from, or where we are going. All feeling of safety of any kind is lost. We hold on to things and people like it is our soul that needs it in order to survive. Nothing could be further from the truth. How much would our world change for us here as a species if the experience that we have had for so long of attachment and control changed? What if our earthly existence did not include attachment and control any longer? What would we look like then? What would our relationships look like? Our expression of love, I think, would be a lot different without attachment and control. What would kindness look like? Kindness without truly anything in return. Done without any strings of one's self freely given. If there are no attachments or control, then kindness would be in its only true form. Truthfully, we are alone. That doesn't have to be a fearful thing. It is just what we have made of it because of the beliefs we have had of our existence here. We have believed that being truly alone is loss of all safety. Of course, it would be fearful to be alone here with that processing. With a true understanding of who we are and where we come from, just being alone is a normality. With nothing fearful about it. Freedom. Like flying. No attachments is being free. No attachments is being free from bondage. Bondage is believing you are of this world and are a slave to its whims against you. That is what you have been convicted of. Believing you are nothing in a world of everything. Maybe, just maybe, it's the other way around. You are everything in a world of nothing. You have everything at your doorstep to do with as you please. It all starts with the emotional language. Emoting is speaking to the universe. There would seem to be a lot of dichotomies in things I have been relaying to you. There are reasons for that. That will be in our chapters going ahead further into our book. Levels of understanding. As I have said earlier, there is everything and nothing at the same time. It is everything in complete nothingness. That is at the highest level of understanding. It can be pretty hard to butter your toast and put salt on your eggs if your awareness is at this level. Only because the salt and pepper shakers would be the same thing. Everything at this level is nothing equally, just a different shape. It doesn't matter what's inside, salt or pepper, because it is still nothing, just the same. That is the ultimate truth of all things, but it makes it very hard to function here on the earth in this dimension of solids and opposite. If you were a being from another galaxy in a completely different dimension, if you had responsibilities of some kind in all of creation, then this level of understanding might work for you. But bring that guy here and there would be no way for him to function. He would be useless to himself, and to anyone else. We here on Earth have the capacity to go through all levels. How many levels there are could be countless, from the very lowest on the scale to the very highest, as in the previous example. The very lowest on the scale would be a view of very one-sided, simple thinking that doesn't incorporate details or interjections of other ideas or thoughts. The only thing that matters is the smallest enigma of their own that their attention is on at that moment. The highest is the one who incorporates everything with no detail at all, and nothing really matters on the grand scale of things. It is the overview plan, the great map of things where people coming and going are insignificant, using every level that is in between all at once at the same time. If one is in the lowest and cannot see beyond that, he is no more use than the one stuck in the highest and cannot see beyond that. All the levels from lowest to highest are just a different way of seeing the same thing, as we have talked about in previous chapters. If one could stand and be in all the multitude of levels at the same time, not just one, as we are used to doing, but all, being in all positions of viewing at the same time, while looking at the same thing, all the levels at once, from highest to lowest. It is the secret that the human capacity is, and that capacity is because of our ability to emote. This capacity cannot happen from the mind. The mind cannot do this. Only the emotions can. That's another part of what makes us so different or unique than other beings in the universe. We function on many different levels, all at the same time. The uniqueness we have that we are barely aware of at this point is why we haven't been long destroyed by other beings. We are so far behind in technology and common sense. It's our emotions that mess everything up for us. There are those who have noticed this issue and seen it as our potential, not a curse. There are those who wish us destroyed, but we are protected. That will be for quite another chapter. In order to function here, there would seem to be many facets to every concern and idea. There isn't just one way for anything. We progress scientifically. After we found the only way to make something work, we progress to yet a better way of the same thing. Just when we thought there was nothing else. An example is the telephone and how it has changed and progressed to a tiny wireless screen in your pocket, which started from a huge wall box with a bell on top that you had to crank a handle and yell into. The first one was the be-all and all of communications, an example of something that involves the many levels we exist in. It is looking at a situation in many different ways, looking at it from different angles or views that would seem to have a valid viewpoint each. The viewpoint can be very different, looking at the same situation. The only way we have functioned here so far has been to pick one and make it the norm for all. What tends to happen with that is those who see another view of the same thing will be shunned, or even destroyed. The fact is that both are right. This is just another way we humans as a group have tried to stay in control, trying to feel safe in this crazy environment. This world doesn't make sense to us at the best of times. This is a very strange place to us. Things just don't make sense here. This is a place of emoting. You may have had the experience when you have a really good strong point to make, that's a final solution for you. Then have another person say, "Oh yes, that makes sense, but," and throws in something you hadn't yet considered. Now you have two solutions and in what seems a deadlock. That's only two. There may be many more you don't know about yet. That same situation that you have the two solutions for may have a third solution, picked up by a group or a country of people across the world who got that third solution. It may be they have a different culture that allowed it into their consciousness. When you look at what they are doing with that third solution, you can't even recognize it as a solution to the same situation you have. It is seen as some crazy foreign thing that you don't know why they are doing such a thing. It is a solution to a problem you also have, you just don't recognize it. That is essentially what cultures are. Different solutions that people have come up with on different parts of the earth for the same situations. It becomes so ingrained and integrated no one remembers why it's even there. They just do it without noticing they are doing anything at all. When they do notice is when someone isn't doing what they have always been doing. Then there is a problem. Being shunned or even killed, as we said earlier in this book. It is just one solution of many solutions that was decided by few. It is put forth as the solution for everyone in that region. After hundreds or thousands of years in this way, you have different peoples with different understandings, all living under the same stars on the same planet. Looking at each other as the other is ridiculous, or stupid, or primitive, or uneducated, or brass. If you spent some time dancing with a tribe in Africa, you just might understand why they do this kind of dance. Their movement in a group, the funny kicks and hops in unison, they are all dressed in strange ways and makeup that looks almost alien to the Western world. I know that I would certainly like to try it. The fears I would have to conquer and the laughs I would get trying would make it all worth it. Because it is a solution to a same situation we all have as human beings. It is just in a different way that we have never thought of. This alternate way was thought of there 1,000 years ago. That is how you can believe something so strongly one day and the next day believe something almost opposite. Both times being ready to fight for it, and both times you were right. It just depends on where you are looking at the same thing from. For each of us, though, we still believe what we have is the way. Even if other people are physically dying or losing all they have for your way. That is why the change is going to happen. This old way is no good for anybody. It is only limiting our own potential and our true creation of our experience. It is when we can see all the possibilities of a situation freely, or when we don't see we are knowing there is more to see and expecting it will show itself along the way. It is only fear that makes us grasp on to one solution. We don't understand anything of our existence here, or how anything works. We want to be in control in order to feel safe. That's why there is this book, to help us understand so we can make better of ourselves, to become the creation that we have been created to become. You will have the help of the universe. You will only need to be willing. The rest will happen naturally because it is our natural state. There isn't even much you need to do. What changes is inside you. It will be how things begin to appear through your eyes at what surrounds you. Things that used to upset you don't anymore. Less attachment, more openness, less judgment, more freedom. The outside physical experience will change as you change from within. We just haven't known it until now and have been fighting it every step of the way. That has been the bondage we have been in. That bondage is what we have been taught. We have been taught from all those before us and those of today. It is time now to come out of that bondage and be free. Be that new creation, cast off the fears and all the redundant attachments we hang on to. They serve no purpose but to drag us down as a human being. Allow the river to take you. Flow with the twists and the turns, become the water itself. You will see that you are safe beyond your wildest dreams. The teaching. I would like to be clear that this book is certainly not about the fountain, nor how I had a life-changing experience. Although it definitely was a life-changing experience, that is not why it is in the book. My experience with the fountain was truly something that helped me see some things that I may never have seen otherwise. Using the fountain in this book has been instrumental in helping me put forth an idea that is not easy to portray with word. It has made it so that you have been able to follow along with the story and the picture I have been wanting to paint for you. Relaying to you about the fountain has been something exciting and fun for a reader to read. It has helped keep the book interesting, helping to make sure the teaching I have doesn't get drab, or having you start to slowly fall off to what it is that I'm trying to convey to you. What this book is about and what I am trying to show you can be a very difficult thing for anyone to grasp. As a tool, the fountain has been invaluable for this book. It has also been fun for me to write about my experience. I have told this story of the fountain to a few throughout my life, but have never written it down. It was a great experience for me to go back into so much detail of what happened. A few years after, I found the Tibetans had also been to this place of the fountain, and they call it the Bardo Thodol. The only thing I don't understand is I saw just 5 realities, or lokas, upon returning, and the Tibetans say they saw 6. Either way, I am sharing this with you to bring reality to the fountain, and not just as fiction. The Bardo Thodol is part of Tibetan sacred writings like Westerners have the Bible. I did ask a Tibetan Lama why I went there. He looked at me incredulously and said, "Because it is there." He told me some things that only I could know. Because of this, I knew he was completely present with me. This book is meant for everyone to understand. Just for the person off the street to read, put it down, and carry on with their lives. There is no joining anything, no changing what you have to do in order to go to heaven. There is no one that has to be pledged allegiance to, or swear they are a prophet of God in order to be saved. This is not a fear-based story, or you will go to hell. This is not meant to be a spiritual book, or a book to convey a Hindu perspective. It is definitely not to convey any religion's perspective. This book is not having an author expect you to shave your head and dance with a tambourine. I am not even suggesting you must meditate. I don't have any one religion of my own. I have studied most all religions. I believe all religions were given to us by God but have been completely distorted since then. I quote Jesus, Buddha, and Krishna because what they have said I feel is truth. That does not make me religious. I do not consider myself spiritual. I am a very regular guy that just seems to be coming from somewhere subtly different, that sometimes can't quite be placed. I tell rude jokes, I swear, I laugh, I cry. Somehow coming from that same place. Most people can't quite put me in the boxes they have made over the years. I get quite a lot of different reactions from people trying to make up who I am to them. It has been disturbing for me when people feel threatened and become aggressive. They are shocked and confused again when I am more than willing to fight quite aggressively. I am still coming from that same unrecognizable place. Usually they just make a new box to put me in and carry on as normal. Having to act a certain way that says you are someone of God is just that, acting. If you can't be comfortable with who you are and accept all of yourself, good, bad, and where you have been, then it is all just acting spiritual. Acting this way, spiritually, with others, tells them that if they step out of the confines you are exhibiting, they are not going to be accepted by God. This is complete distortion and only creates followers instead of individuals standing in themselves as a creation of God. Which is what you are. Do you really think if you use the wrong words God won't want you anymore, or does that sound like control from some freak here on earth? Someone who is in a panic because they know nothing of who they are or where they are from. These people should be pitied. I'm not sure if they can be helped. They can read this book. Sometimes I'm the guy who wrote this book. Not very often. I think it will be more often from now on though. I do hope I will have that frightful and exciting experience of being in front of you and be able to greet each other. Long before the last call, of course. I do, however, know that everything I am saying to you today couldn't be said this way before, because it just wasn't time. Yehoshua ben Yosef is the true name of the man Jesus. The name Jesus never existed anywhere in any time, until it was printed in the Bible. That's how fast distortion started. They couldn't even get his name right. This book is what I have stated from the very beginning to you. There is a last call. That last call it would seem I am a part of. When it is to come, I don't know. I have never been allowed to have a full-on human teacher in my learning. What I would be teaching has never been taught here before, is what I heard from within me. I have had many different teachers along the way. From within and without. I know what I have seen is coming. As a very young person, I was speaking of what I was seeing in our future. At that time, even spiritual people hardly understood what I was talking about. Today, those same ideas and understandings are coming out everywhere. It comes closer to me and has progressed in that direction, completely of what I have seen every day. It only makes sense that as time progresses, I will at some point find myself deeply in the future I have seen. Even this book is a signpost that the rest I have seen of our future is also true. My job is to help everyone hear this call to your souls, so that you can make your own clear choice of what you want. I am not here to make you choose a way. I am to help you to a place within yourself, to show you what this world is and what it has done to you as a human being, without the craziness of this world blanketing you with its presentation. When the time comes, what it is that you want to choose will be done with both presentations, this world's teaching and the one I have been giving to you. This teaching that I am sharing with you will be a sound in the background in the midst of the most crazy and hardest things you have ever seen and experienced. What is coming is beyond what you expect. If you have this teaching within you, you will be able to survive it. You will know that none of it is as real as it is presented to you. When the earth is falling away from around you, you will remain standing. You can remain strong in the multiple levels of what it is that you are looking at and experiencing. Instead of taking it at face value of the one view and crumbling with it, by being in all views or levels at one time, the spot you stand on will remain untouched. There is a dark being who wants you to believe in this world and in its fear-based ways. These we have gone over throughout this book. To fear him would be great in his favor. It would be stupid in you, because he is just doing a job that has been given to him for you to make a choice from. This one has no more power over you than I or anyone else does. It will just be your choice in what you want. So far you have had a blanket of a one-sided viewpoint along with a handful of distortions of the teachings I am sharing now. Even all religions have been so corrupted that you can't make a proper choice for yourself. People are starting to see that more clearly now. It is said, the devil hides where you least expect him to be, where least to expect him, but within their own churches and temples. This phrase is meant to put fear into you, so that you don't even trust yourself. Its purpose is to make you follow them without an opinion and bring them more power. If you trusted yourself, you will tell them to take a hike. These people don't want anyone trusting themselves. If we know that all of creation is within our own image, we will know very quickly we don't need them and their control. It is the collapse of all religion. All religions at its core points to this I am saying. It has been purposely distorted so you can't see it. All great teachers of the earth in history never taught to follow an existing religion. Even if that was the religion they were born to. They taught freedom, you are loved, love yourself, you are God. Buddhists and Hindus teach God is within ourselves and go to great lengths to help us find that. Even Jesus said, "Ye are gods," and when asked by the people who did not believe in him, he told them, "The kingdom of God is within you." That is the reason for meditation and going within. To find that kingdom of who we really are. Every time throughout our history we have been given this view of our existence that I am giving. It has always been distorted to discredit the teaching. Then only some groups of people follow the distorted teachings for fearful reasons. The majority of the earth does not follow because they see the distortions in despair. A person can be born Buddhist and tell you he is Buddhist but does nothing whatsoever that is Buddhist in his life. Just a regular guy. If you asked him about Buddhism, he might direct you to his grandfather because he has no idea and apologizes. There are millions more of these people than devout followers of any religion, or all of them put together. It is the same with a Catholic or Christian. They just belong to a group that tells them what to do. There is no real connection to truth or God in most of these people. 85% of them have near zero knowledge of Jesus, Buddha, Krishna teachings, or what is in the Bible and religious texts. The other 14% are fanatic. 1% are Christian, Buddhist, Hindu followers of truth. Most of it is hate and fear-based. If you don't think so, just go ahead, disagree with one of those nice religious people, and see what happens. They are all great as long as the view stays on their one view of how everything is. If you veer from that view, you will be shunned or destroyed. Some of our religions are at the lowest levels of our human existence. They are closed to ideas, have a separateness understanding, God is far, far away, continuous fear of deceit, cannot trust themselves, only trusting religious scriptures they don't understand, need of a group telling them they are safe, very control-based, believing God hates them for being human, feels they should be aggressive if someone breaches any of these ways of being human. Like they have said, He hides where you least expect. I think most everyone is tired of religion, and sees it as the Dark Ages, and corrupt. We are evolving and growing up as a species, and these ways are old and outmoded. We are still wandering and questioning who we are. We just don't want any of these solutions anymore. Having the few dictate what we are to be is no longer acceptable. We are a planet of connected, integrated individuals, all equal under the heavens. This teaching I am giving will try to be discredited and distorted. The time is different now, and their effort will not succeed. This is part of the last call, and that belongs to Him. This teaching cannot be destroyed. This teaching is what will be. Visions. I guess by now you are asking what exactly is the last call? The last call is a name I gave to a long cluster of visions given to me over years of growing up as a young person. I was never religious. I didn't have a family that had any kind of religion or belief. When things started to happen to me, I was quite shocked. I had no knowledge or understanding of anything other than the worldly existence. I seemed to go through inner training for quite many years. In that training were a number of deep visions involving the future here on Earth, that I seemed to have a part in. As a young person, this was a very heavy weight to carry. With no foundation or understanding, I always had my sanity in question. What it is that I named the last call is what I have seen. Starting from the earliest vision given to me of this future of ours, I saw the world in turmoil. The part of the world I was in had a lot of destruction. There is a group of us surviving together. We all seem to have fifth wheels and RV-type possessions with us. Just regular people trying to decide what to do. There is no radio, no TV, and no connection to a government if there is one. I don't think there is. The air and sun seem to be fine. It is late in the summer. Your guess is as good as mine as to what happened to make things this way. That has never been revealed to me. On this day that I could see, we are standing in a group. Everyone is distressed and having a discussion of our next move to make in surviving. No one looks too bad off. Clothes look okay. No one looks sick or anything really. There is greenery around. My experience of this vision is, I am floating above, over everyone looking down at their heads and baseball caps. There is someone very powerfully narrating and with authority telling me what is happening in the story below me. That someone said to me, in this time these people will want to travel south to the warmer climate. Don't go with them. Once they travel south, they will find an impassable lake. This has formed from flooding that has covered half a province. It is full of salt water, so there is no drink. It is impassable because all the destruction and death from the flood's path is within this lake. They will die at this lake because of the dwindled supplies and have no return. They believe we must go south because winter is coming, and we live far to the north. Without civilization, we most likely won't survive the cold. That someone told me to trust and stay. The winter would not be cold, for the weather here is changed in this time of the vision. It won't be seen until the winter comes. Just imagine trying to trust that 30 below won't happen this year. Heading south will be very tempting. That is the reason of this vision. I'm going to want to head south too. Then there is another vision in a time that seems to be farther in the future from there. How long a timeline it has been from the last vision, I do not know. Things have progressed. Everyone seems to be quite aware of the predicament of the world. There is a very large crowd. People are dirty, scraggly looking and angry, afraid, hungry. We have no overlords, no government. Just us. Everyone is equally screwed looking. There seems to be only a rubble type setting around us. In this vision, I am seeing from behind/beside myself, looking out to the crowd. Mind you, I was maybe 20 at the time having these visions, seeing myself much older, so it was obvious as being very far off. I was quite frightened and confused. During the visions, I felt quite full and completely safe, like I was home. It felt safe, like I was being carried as a child by a strong father. During the vision, there was absolutely no doubt that whatever was shown to me was true and would come to pass. Beyond any shadow of a doubt, I was being shown truth. In the vision, this I knew throughout my soul. It was after having the visions, trying to do normal life, that I wondered about my sanity, wondering if my mind was making this crap up. As a young person, I knew nothing about myself or others. I just wanted to party and meet girls. This kind of thing I would have never pursued on my own, or read books on, or had interest in. Trying to find out what was happening with me and preserving my sanity was my motivation. That's why it was frightening and confusing. So back to the second vision. I could see myself facing the crowd. I am sitting on some rocks or rubble where everyone can see me. At this point, there isn't much for anyone to go. I am talking to everyone. Things are very different in how I am existing. There is teaching coming from me, but it is not mine. It comes straight from Him. Strange thing is, all over the world, in every language, in every culture, the same thing is happening. There is someone in this same position as I, with a teaching coming from Him that isn't His own but comes from Him. We are all saying the same thing to the masses in each part of the world, in every language. It is the same message. The ones giving the message are able to perform works of God, so that people can understand the teaching that is being given. I saw levitation and even fireballs. This is the last call. It is God calling to you before all is lost. He calls to everyone through these people He loves. He does not want anyone to turn away. It doesn't matter who you are or what you have done. Everyone is to come, and that is the truth. That is my job. That's why I know that is the truth. It's in my core to carry out and do. I feel it. With the world destroyed to the point that it is, there is a greater hope that you will hear Him call you. During this time of the call, there is no urgency or push or punishing or anything. Just the truth. It is calm. Everything proven clearly and truthfully in front of your soul of what it is that is being spoken about. You will be able to align with the speaker emotionally from that deeper place and become that new creation. It can happen without effort. You will be able to see it, feel it, and become it. That is what the white doves represent, flying up from the crowds in such beauty and freedom. It is this promise to all of us. The destruction that has happened at this point to the earth is nothing. This is not the tribulation of the earth. What happens when the speakers step down from the call is when the tribulation starts. The destruction that has never been seen before on this earth begins. There will be no more. This crazy stuff I'm telling you doesn't belong or come from me. I have been a bystander wondering what the hell is going on and doing my best to grow and understand throughout my lifetime. With a lot of help. My life has only been about these things I have seen. Believe me, I have had a fairly normal life on the outside. Nothing has ever left me on the inside. Through my life, the questions have always been, how do I be that man in the vision? Who is that me in the future? How do I get there from here? Is it even real, or have I just made it up out of some kind of need? Pretty much the same as you hearing it now is the same as I heard it. The same type of questions and feelings are arising in you as they did in me. Except for me, when I heard it, it was sent through my core as being absolutely true the whole time while watching it. Like watching, or rather taking part in a narrated movie. That's why I am writing a book about it. I think I'm finally believing maybe this is going to happen. Yehoshua said, "Those who are taught by God come to me." I have been taught by God. This I do know. That has never been a question. I don't know what is actually going to happen in our future. I am just telling you about what He has told me. These are not the only things I have been shown. They are just the most relevant right now to share. Everything I am sharing is to help before we get to the last call. I'm sure even at that time there will be people at the back of the crowd with no intention of what is going on. No matter though, they are still not all to be lost. What I am doing and what is being done through me now is to help people on their way. To give people a heads up on what's coming and what will be of you to become. So it isn't such a shock or being blindsided. This change or transition is meant to be as easy as possible. It was explained to me years ago that the heavens and the earth would be coming closer to one another. What would take 50 years of meditation and dedicated work would then be 5 minutes near the end. Know that you have it within you. Your mind does not know how or what it is. The mind just draws a big blank. That is fine and normal. The mind has very little to do with it. It's not the mind that knows. It's the emotions. It's a different way of knowing something. Don't allow your choice to be based on what your mind knows and that your mind doesn't know how to get there from here. Just show up, don't fear, and be willing. I had to make that final brave choice to do it before I wrote this book. So, I guess I'm in. If I'm gonna show up for such an event, well, I might as well go all the frickin' way in. Losing attachment. So far, what we have talked about is the general, overall type views of our existence. This has raised a lot of individual questions for people. Like I was talking about earlier, the higher overall views are lacking in detail. I needed to give an overall picture. A picture speaks 1,000 words is why. In this case, maybe it's a little more than 1,000. So, from an overall viewpoint, you don't have to do anything, just show up. Looking back, that's what you will say you pretty much did, just showed up. On other levels, you will do a lot. I hope you are seeing the levels I have been meaning and how they are happening at the same time. It is depending on where you look at it from. What we want is to be in all levels for everything, all at once. On the other levels of this change can seem not so easy. It can be confusing and hard. We have the attachments that we have. We didn't consciously put them there, but they exist very strongly in our experience. So how is getting rid of them or letting them go so easy? Maybe it's just easy to say. We have families and loved ones. That is the hardest of attachments to let go of. Yehoshua spoke of this a few times. How he has put it is quite a lot harsher than maybe I would, but really, we don't know who wrote down the words in the Bible anyways. This is not a new concept, but this concept has been twisted and distorted by cults that strip people of their families. That is just more control over people mixed with truth. We don't go to God in groups, we go alone. Every time, whether it be liberating ourselves in this body, or when this body removes itself from us, we go alone. There is no one to point fingers at, no one to say, well, that pastor told me, or I read in the Bible that. None of that crap is gonna fly. There is just you and him and what is truth. And you will sit with it. No pastors, no books, no parents to blame and no brother to hate. How many times you think this has happened? To everyone. Well, most everyone. I would like to think some have figured it out along the way. Figured out that it's just you and him. That's it really. There isn't anything else. Your loved ones leave, they pass away, they hurt you, and when you pass you are by yourself. To be very clear right now, attachment is not love. How many of you thought I was saying not to love your family? That's how screwed up attachment is in our lives. We think the feeling of being attached to another is love. It most certainly is not. Do you think you can love an object? Maybe there is a car you have that you love, or a home that you love. Everything is just right about that car or that home. Is this loving them? You certainly don't want to lose them. I'm sure you will fight to keep them. With them you feel warmth and safe. I hope these examples leave you confused. Now let's put the love test to a favorite hairbrush. Do you love that hairbrush or just need it to function in your life and like the way of it and stuff? I think that would be attachment to that particular hairbrush, not so much love. You would definitely get by without it, albeit a pain in the butt. Once you find another hairbrush, the panic will subside. The reason it is easier to see the hairbrush isn't love than the car or house is because we have a deeper attachment to a car or house. Yes, they both serve a greater purpose than a hairbrush, but again we are talking about if that feeling of attachment is love. Either of them is still just attachments, not love. So when saying to let go of attachment to family and loved ones, it is much easier than maybe you first thought if you understand what attachment is. Of course you still love. You are just not attached because you know that in the end they won't be there. Where you are going is to him. People will love you, but they won't be going with you. When you go to him it is like you are an only child. What attachment is also control. Because you have a stake in that person or object, you have a strong need to control it to be a certain way. That certain way will always keep changing too, so that no person or thing can live up to this kind control. This control has nothing to do with the person or object. It only has to do with your own fear of being alone and not knowing where you are going. Day by day and after your body dies. Who am I and where am I going? It is terrifying. We begin to grab on to stuff and people floating around us to identify with and feel safe. Sound familiar? It is what I immediately did in the fountain. At some point as human beings that have been here for thousands of years. Geez, we might figure something out and stop doing this? Every terrible thing on earth derives from this. Attachment is what drives the world to hate, anger, murders, lack of empathy, and using other humans for your purposes. Attachment has a link to our emotions that is why it seems so real. Everything has a purpose for it or it wouldn't be here. Just that is not what attachment is for. Attachment could be for, if we are flying through the cosmos, we don't want to lose our friend who was following along. I don't know, but it sure isn't for what we have been using it. For now, we have to drop attachment until what it's for shows up in its distorted absence. So, letting go of attachment to family, friends, and objects might look something like this. 1. Not feeling any need to control them or their actions. 2. They are whole and complete free beings apart from you. 3. You are a whole and complete being apart from them. 4. If they were to leave you, you will hurt but will still stand safe without them as you have always. 5. Every day is the only day you have to deal with at a time and you do. Coming from a place as this, what changes? Everything changes. If everyone dealt with our existence this way, when someone comes to you with kindness it's actually real, because they don't have a stake in being kind to you. There isn't attachment that drove them to you. Attachment is always taking and never giving. That's why kindness can feel icky and awkward, because attachment does not know quite where to fit in with kindness. It doesn't. So, we just stay away from uncomfortable kindness in general. Is this what you want to subject your family and friends to? Is this what you consider love? Is this what you think will be so terribly complex on letting go of? Is this the fallacy you want to pass on to your grandchildren on how to experience this world? How they should treat others and themselves? In wonderful earthbound, fearful attachment? You are that being who sees out your eyes. You are not all these people and things around you. That is what you want to teach your grandchildren, for that to be normalcy and passes on beyond them. The one seeing out your eyes right now is the one who was before you were born and the one who is after your body falls away. That is the one you have to get to know. Then everything is easy. Then everything I'm saying falls together and makes sense. If you are that one, attachment falls away. That one has the capacity where nothing matters, and everything matters at the same time. That one is in every level at all times. That one is not your mind. That one is not your emotions. That one is not your body. That one is you. The body, mind, and emotions are tools that this one that sees out our eyes uses to function in this place. It's like using the controls in a ship to navigate and communicate with. We have been identifying with these three tools as who we are. These things are tools that we own, nothing more. The question arises, why the hell doesn't this one who we truly are say or do something and show us so it's not so hard? The answer is, because that one has no attachment to outcome. You, your own self in truth, is not attached to whether you see or not. That one just experiences everything. No judgments, no attachments. I'm sure that one is waiting for you to join him, waiting for your consciousness and his to join and experience together. You are free to do as you choose, without attachments on your outcome. This one is not God. This one who sees through your eyes is one with God but is not God. If you join with this one, there is then actually three: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, all in one being. These three exists now together at this moment within you. It just hasn't yet been experienced. That is what we are here for. To become that one, and that is what we are going to do. That is who took me from the fountain. He was joined of the three. If he was only the one who sees through our eyes, he would have let me drown. So, you see, when we join with that higher self of ours, we don't completely lose what we are, we add to it. Even though we have made a lot of things unhealthy and bad, they do have a purpose, or they wouldn't be here. They just need to be used for what they were intended. The ego is an example. The ego is a cause of a horrendous amount of pain and suffering to ourselves and those around us, including the planet. The fact is, without the ego we couldn't function here. The ego doesn't disappear, it just gets dropped in the way we have used it. Then its true function begins. The ego is yet another thing we have used to identify ourselves with, and that has been why it's so distorted. The ego is another tool for us to use. It is not who we are as a being. Using the ego, we can differentiate between one another. Otherwise, we are all one, again, pretty hard to function here in this three-dimensional world. We can identify what is a wall and what is a door, so we can get out of a room. Without the ego, we wouldn't know we were in a room to begin with. We can identify when someone is talking to us, or someone else around us. It is a tool to use to function in this world of objects and this way and that way. In the higher realms of existing, there isn't two, only one. So, that being said, this place can be so fun. It's like a state fair. There are all kinds of crap to try out. Even just running is brand new. All the while knowing where you are from, where you are going, and that you are just in this place to experience something magical. You, at the controls of this machine, the body, running all over the place, looking through your eyes at what you are able to create from the fountain, good or bad. The fountain, and you have no judgment, just experience and no fear. From this place there is no fear. It is not fear that stops you from falling off a cliff. It is the ego. My body is up here on top of the cliff, and down there is a long fall to death. Body gets squished with gravity. The ego is a tool for differentiation between the many dichotomies we have in this place. Otherwise, there would only be one here. And death to our bodies, that exist in third dimension, would happen pretty much right away in this environment without the ego. We have identified with the ego as who we are, same as we have done to everything else we come in contact with. Oh, look, there's an apple. Is that who I am? That's it. I'm a frickin' apple. Removing or losing the ego has never been true to me. I have even heard, the ego is the only enemy of God. That baffles me. Only someone who identifies with the ego as who they are and it not being just a tool would think this way. Identifying with anything that isn't the one looking through our eyes is an enemy of God. It just shows how convinced their identity is with the ego. It would be the same as saying to remove your mind, just get rid of it. You can't get rid of the mind. I'm not sure what that would look like, a human without the mind. The mind is a part of this human function. We cannot identify with the mind either. The mind is also not who we are. The ego is the same thing. You cannot get rid of the ego. It is a tool to function with, as is the mind. The ego is a tool to differentiate in this three-dimensional world of opposite. I'm not sure what we would look like without the ego as a tool. It makes me think we would walk into traffic. Fear. There is nothing to fear. Fear serves no purpose. We have our intellect, our ego, and our emotion to help us navigate through this plane of existing. In saying this, I am very aware that people will feel defensive and defiant of this truth. Fear is not an emotion in the way we have used it. Fear is not a gauge for detecting personal dysfunction. If you use fear as gauging what might need your attention, then you will end up in a never-ending cycle of detecting more fear within yourself. Fear is a lie. It does nothing but create more fear. It does nothing else. It has no truth. None. Uncovering fear and dispelling it is the only purpose to feel it. As in the above paragraph, dispelling equals removing a spell? The spell of fear. Just something I noticed in the wardage. Fear is like a spell that has been cast upon us. The last chapter was about attachment. We have these attachments because of fear. We fear we have no control of our lives and this world. We fear when we die we have nothing. We fear we will be and are alone. Fear is the main cause of all human suffering. Wherein fear does it seem a good idea to have it for any reason? Please, if there is something that fear is good for, tell me now. I really want you to think for a moment. If you are feeling resistance at all to this concept of fear that I am relaying to you, try and think of something fear is good for that couldn't be looked after in a much better way. Anything that needs to be done or taken care of can be done with the healthy emotions, with the healthy mind, or with the healthy ego. Not fear. Fear is something that holds us back. What's funny is it's especially true when it's something we have always really wanted to do in our life, like being a rock star, or climbing a mountain, or being a champion boxer, or writing the book you always wanted to write. First thing fear says is no. Are you crazy? You can't be doing that. It rambles on in your head, convincing quietly to move on to nothing. Do nothing and feel safe. Why is that? Doing nothing is safe? Because we believe in a lot of untruths about who we are, what we have been told, and where we come from. From there are more untruths that climbs into us, makes a home there, and freezes us up into fear. So we do nothing and share our lives under fear's grasp and control. It talks in our head like a serpent. Bondage. That is what fear is. Bondage. The opposite of who you are. The opposite of what you were created to be. To sit and do nothing because you fear and don't trust the creation that is around you. To make others around you feel fearful and feel angry together with each other in your existence. This as a people what we do. We stop ourselves and each other from living and experiencing life due to fear. What I am saying is we choose to sit and hide in order to not feel afraid. Would you be proud of your creation like that if you were God? If you were looking in a little glass bowl at us all scurrying around, destroying each other, not fulfilling our creation out of fear that controls our life, watching us like ants running all over each other, fearful of our own selves and our surroundings, existing in suffering, it would almost be neglectful and compassionless to allow us to continue on in this way. That's why it's called the last call. It is ending. If someone was to question why you are afraid to do your wishes, you would be hard-pressed to give them any real answer. Well, an answer that makes any sense that's based in any truth. That's because fear is a lie and doesn't have any truth to it. Fear is not there to protect you. As I said earlier, you have much more capable tools than fear to protect yourself with. Look at it this way. You must have heard of someone who was so fearful they froze and couldn't move? You think freezing up to a point your body can't move is a good idea? If there is that huge of a danger to me, I think I would like to be able to move. Not a very good protection mechanism. Now having a feeling there is something around you that is putting you in danger, like maybe some people who have a face that everything is safe, when their true intention is of robbing and hurting you. Having a twinge inside sharing with you that something is wrong, and danger is present is quite a different matter. Not doing what you have always wanted to do out of fear is very different. One is a tool, the other is identifying with fear as who you are and allowing it to run our world. Use that warning twinge as a tool. I won't even call it fear because it isn't. It is strength. Fear should not engulf you and now your name is afraid. We can live our lives in that afraid mode. It's too bad because we will only get old and die. Afraid after having done nothing and trying to control everything. Fear loves company. Someone else agreeing with your fear reinforces the truth of it. Now you can run with it. Now you can enforce it. Maybe build some big walls or something. Fear drives people into groups of people who want to hate. Maybe get more people to fear and make a large group of fearing people. Get people to want to fight to protect themselves from this fearful threat. Maybe find some old distorted texts from God that seem to represent the fears you all have. More proof your fear is real. The threat exists. A large group of people all fearing together on a continent. Please, don't sign me up. Fear has no bearing on anything, fear has no truth in anything. If you push through a fear you have, I'm sure you will have noticed that once on the other side, there was no fear there at all. Just open space. A friend of mine once told me a story. It was about 27 years ago now. Her name is Wendy. She is a hero of mine. She saved my life and helped me on my path. Without her, I believe I never would have made it. I thank God for her and her help. She said to me, "Fear is an empty room." I said, "What does that mean?" She told me this short, simple story about fear. I hope you enjoy it as I did. It has always stuck with me. Imagine living in a very large house with many doors. You are given this house. It is very old but beautiful and amazing. Your first visit there, you are shown around the house. The kitchen, bathrooms, bedrooms, etc. You walking down a hallway notice an old door. It looks like it's never been touched in years. There are cobwebs on it and thick dust. You ask your guide about this door. He says, "Oh, don't go in that door, and there are terrible things. No one ever goes in that door." He wouldn't say what, but deciding to believe him, you carried on. After years of living in this house, and passing by this old door in the middle of the hallway, you get the nerve to stop in front of the door and peer at it, looking at the scratches and design. Even moving some of the dust off the handle, that's when you notice it's not locked. Everything inside, you want to open the door, but what's inside? You don't know. Suddenly, from some deep inner force you didn't know you had, you turn the handle and whip the door open. In such a kerfuffle you trip on your own feet and fall onto the floor in the middle of the room, to find a lot of dust in your nose, an old mattress, and nothing, just an empty room. No one ever going in. How long had this room been passed over, never locked, and the fear that was created, over nothing? Don't let fear decide anything for you, my friends. Fear is an empty room. Open your doors you have been afraid to open. The way we have continued, we cannot remain in this way. Children cry and pray for help in their beds. For that matter, I cry and pray for help in my bed. The world we have created has to change. Fear has no place in the new world. Fear does not exist. If you hang on to fear, if you want to keep your attachments, you will not come. There is no back door. The fact is, we are running out of time. If you want to argue a point about what someone said or what happened 3 years ago that upsets you, then you do that. You do that over there somewhere. I am not here to make you decide. I am not here to make you clean yourself up. I am not responsible for you. I am here to spell it out to you as clearly and the best I can, and you decide what it is that you want. That is my responsibility to myself and to God. I will always try to help someone to this place I speak of. That is my job that I agree to. But moving ahead and forward, not backwards and dragging. We can go back to bring something forward, but not go back to keep going backwards. If there is someone who does not have the capacity to understand or make the choices, they will be brought forward without effort. I'll put things in a really simple form of what I mean. If you have 5 minutes to live, do you want to go over that fine detailed crap, or do you want to get what I'm saying and let go of what doesn't matter? As a race here on Earth, it is like we have 5 minutes to live. We are running out of time. We pretend our body's death isn't coming, and we have all the world's time until it's too late. We find ourselves on our deathbed with no time left and so much wanted to do and say. All the things fear told us not to do will be with us, on our chest at that time. But it's over and there is no choice. That's what this is. If you hang on to fear and dribble, you're going to be too late. Not only because of your body's death, but the death of the world as we know it. There won't be any coming back. There won't be any more chances. This is the truth. I am not intending to instill fear. I am trying to uncover the fog on your brain that says fear of being who you are is okay. It is not okay to allow fear to permeate through your life and control everyone's world. Let go of fear and attachment to people and things. Shed it off like an outmoded skin. Stand strong in yourself of who you are, and you will fly like a dove. The road from here. If I was to go back to the fountain today, I think it would be a better experience. I don't say a good experience, but at least better. Today at least I might have some idea what is happening if I was within the fountain. To have some understanding when things have no meaning. I say maybe not a good experience because I still have some anger and resentments in my life. In the fountain those negative feelings would manifest to make the ride in there not so fun. That's just my assumption. We as humans still have a lot of limitations and encumbrances on us. We may not take 50 years of meditation and discipline anymore, but we are certainly not at 5 minutes. We are somewhere in between. I think closer to the end of that scale. As we progress in time, the scale moves faster and faster towards the 5-minute end of the scale. Now that you have read this book, you will recognize the signs how quickly changes are happening in the world towards this end. Maybe this book will help its progress. Lately I have been seeing very clear signs from people I wouldn't have guessed. Them saying things in public, on TV. The public thinking maybe they have gone mad, but I know exactly what they are talking about. That is partially what inspired me to start writing. I could see it was time. I think the scale has tipped to the down slope of time to its end. We have come over the cusp. It goes faster now because of emotion or emoting. We see it and experience it without words from another. It is easier to understand something this way, and it comes naturally. It comes as truth through this kind of communication, so it easily becomes a normal and accepted understanding without even talking. You will see the talking though, because it will be spreading quickly. It would be hard for the mind to miss it. This wave of a new type of consciousness is wonderful for us as a species. It will cause a lot of trouble in its movement. Some definite problems will arise. It has already started within people's psyche. If it had not, then this book would be useless. The only way to understand what I have been saying is if the messages have already started from within you. This is just a representation on the external of what is already happening internally. I'm here to help bring it out to yourself and to the world, so it doesn't stay internal. Internal, without expression, is what can cause some trouble. Having the message whispered to you, teaching you. We have been comfortable for so long with the dysfunctions that have been bred into us, this can cause internal fighting. Fighting with thoughts and ideas that are foreign and feeling they are unwanted. It disrupts our normal, daily routines, and noticing this makes us wonder if something is wrong with us. It can be very confusing. It can feel like you are just losing your mind, misinterpreting what is being taught to you from within. It can feel like the new is pushing in and you keep pushing it back out. The earth and the heavens are coming closer together. There is nothing to stop this experience from coming. The relief is to accept it, assimilate it, integrate it. It is much harder to do by yourself in your own head. Having a book like this and hearing others talk about the same internal conversations will help infinitely. The changes will happen quickly, but not overnight. Those who decide to fight it and not accept it will literally lose their mind. Their internal battle will get worse day by day. There will be those who take the teaching to mean it is for them, especially to exclude the rest of us. The message says you are special, but it means along with everyone else is special too. Some of these people will think they are Jesus Christ. There will be groups of people who want to follow such a person. The entire setup is a huge distortion of truth and mental, emotional distress. All of it based on fear, attachment, and confusion. It makes them very dangerous. The thing is, when you don't want to join or accept their cause, they will become immediately violent. Remember this, it may help keep you safe. This is part of the craziness that I had mentioned in the times during and after the last call. The leader may even be able to manifest things that others cannot. This is because the heavens and the earth are growing closer to each other. You will see that and more as you go from here. There are no people above or higher in this new world. If you see someone thinking or acting superior, steer far away. What is available to people from the heavens will make them much more capable and destructive. They will be completely out of balance. It is like their minds are scrambled, going in every direction at once in order to escape the truth that is within themselves, staying mentally and emotionally in perpetual motion. This is so nothing stays still long enough to have to look at it. You should easily be able to manipulate yourself to safety. Tell them what they want to hear. They will believe it because they are continuously lying to themselves in order to stay in this state. Any truth at this point won't be a part of their existence. Even the truth that you are lying to them would put them out of their state. They won't allow any truths in their minds and accept. Fear has told them that truth is a lie, so they won't let any in. If there is someone in the group who knows you are lying to them in order to escape, that one will be joining you. If they are seeing truthfully what is happening, they are no longer under the spell that has been created. They will have been dispelling it already to see the truth of you. They are not a threat. These groups will be people who have fought the teachings internally from the beginning and only talked about it externally in fear-threat-based language. At any time, if they let go, they could be free. It is not for you or I to try and save them. That will ensure your death, for one thing. The other is it's no one's job except each individual's choice made. It is part of your job that if one wants to leave such a group, to help them. You cannot leave someone behind knowing that person wants to make that choice to be free. We are given until the last day of the last call just for this reason. Don't despair, there will always be lots of help, internally and externally. Where you want to go in this journey on the earth through craziness is to one of the speakers of the last call. That one will be the best chance for you to be safe. There is well over 100,000 of these people around the world. If you search, you will find one. There will be a calling to you on where to go. Just follow it. I honestly don't know if I am one of these speakers. I just know I saw myself in the visions, and my life has seemed to be a training ground to get there. I have had a lot of other experiences that are a bit odd. Okay, more than a bit odd, as you will see. It's okay if I am not one of the speakers. It's a very big responsibility, and it might be nice to see and watch then be that guy doing it. Armies and wars. There are armies of spirit. I'm not completely sure who they are or completely sure if they are real. I have seen them around me. I have spoken with them in a spirit domain. They are in the thousands. They are all shield and sword type from every walk of life. They have been waiting a very long time, and they look to me as their leader. I honestly have no idea why, but they sure know I am beyond any shadow of a doubt. When I speak to them, I speak to them as their leader, and they are ferociously happy. It is like I go to the other side where they are, and on that side, I am a different person. That person is amazing. I didn't choose to be their leader, they chose me. Because of that, there were ground rules laid that cannot be crossed. The only thing that happened with that is the army cheered in gratitude. When I experience the army, I think that is the most amazing thing I have experienced in my life. More than the fountain. They are the most grateful, most loyal to God, the most respectful beings to ever come across. Their power is beyond reproach, and they cheer for me. They wait for me. It's the craziest thing. I'm not sure what an army of spirits can do in this world, but they sure have been waiting a long time to do it. They aren't budging a spot until it is time to charge out. Every heart is stressed, waiting to move to the drum beat of a fierce fight. It is the chance they have been waiting for I have no idea how long, but it has been a long time without a doubt. They are getting close and they know it. They rock with anticipation. Seeing me is how they know. They see something in me, I don't know what it is. I know it's my soul, I just don't know yet who or what that is. My soul sure knows who it is. The way he talks to them or any spirit is with complete authority, along with the utmost respect mutually given, and there is no argument. Me Onitas, most of the time I feel I don't know a thing. Then other times I have the answers and knowledge of the universe. As we get closer to the last call, I do feel a change in me. It's like more and more I am becoming that man who rules the army and knows what's going on. Layer upon layer I have been stripping off the attachments and fears that cover the truth of who I am. The more I clear out, the truer I become. I still have a very long way to go. When you remove all the fears and babble that goes on inside, the only thing left is the true being that you are. There is no falseness left. That has all been stripped away. How do we end up at 20 years old filled to the brim with attachments and fears? I don't know how that can happen so fast. It has taken a lifetime to uncover, and being sure not to add more along the way. What has taken a lifetime then, can take 5 minutes soon. Don't forget that and get discouraged. Things are speeding up faster and easier every day. If you want it, you will become that full, true being that you are. The prophecy of us has been throughout the universe. Some at the far reaches have no idea who we are or where we might be, but have still heard the prophecies. The prophecy of the little planet that endures and sparks a change within themselves that has never been seen before. The story is so important to all, not just because of the wonderful thing we are doing for ourselves, but that it affects everyone in the universe. It works like a domino effect. The light that is created from us and our planet radiates out like beams of light. Those beams contain the complete truth of every living and non-living thing's creation. Within it is all equality. We all just have differences, not higher or lower statuses. This light that has been released, not created by us, touches and spreads to everyone and everything that is. This I am telling you is what has been told and explained to me. Just as the other visions, taking part in a movie and having it narrated to me what is happening. This story is what I saw. I am describing the story as clearly as I can as I understand it. The fountain was not a vision, but an experience of truly being there looking out my eyes. The prophecy in the universe about us is similar to the ones we have about ourselves. Most all of our religions have an Armageddon story or end times of our species, or a long dark period. The reason for this is because, as I said before, all our religions were given to us by God. They have been distorted afterwards to being nearly unrecognizable, but have core truths that remain the same. The same way we see our own prophecies is how the prophecies are viewed in the universe to others. It's an amazing story, but who knows if it's true? But everyone has hope. That is how the story of us is viewed elsewhere than here. On other worlds there are beings very different than us and not so very different than us. There are peoples that have a very good connection to each other as a species that are peaceful in most all respects. There are other beings not so peaceful and are much more partial to war and conquering. The warring beings capture entire planets, enslave the people, and have them mine their planet for minerals and metals. These two being types have heard the story of us. The peoples enslaved on their own planet have this story as hope for their own liberation and freedom. The beings of war and conquering are dense beings, and they don't believe or pay much heed to the so-called prophecies. They do not like these stories because their way of life may come to an end or change radically. No one is permitted to speak of these things because it raises hope and pertains to their release. The dense ones are just that, they are dense. If you can think of the way I'm using dense in the way opposite of being light and floating. They are very dense, heavy and strong. Light emotions and thought doesn't occur for them much at all. They see, they conquer, and they take. Over an extreme time of evolving and learning this trade, they have come up with some very ingenious weapons. They are able to instill fear, which makes a people an easier prey. If one is able to fend off fear, their weapons are diminished considerably. For now, these beings are not so concerned about us. One reason is because they don't believe the stories to begin with. They have watched and looked at us, and we look dense to them. We look completely incapable of such a prophecy. We attack and kill each other, we rape our planet, we don't look after those of our own species that are in need. We cause and allow our own people to have horrible existences and die horribly, all the while we carry on obliviously with our lives. It is laughable, even to such a dense being as them. They leave behind a very few beings to keep an eye on us, just to be sure this change doesn't start to happen. Why doesn't these beings just destroy us and be done worrying about it? There is more than one reason. First of all, these beings are a strategic being. That is part of their evolution. Their idea is if they destroyed us and our planet, we may disappear. There is the possibility of the same type of being appearing somewhere else, on another planet in a hidden location with the same possible capabilities. Keeping us alive has clarity for them, where we are and what we are doing. Another reason the dense beings don't destroy us is that we are being protected from a different race of beings. This race of beings has also heard the prophecies and have taken a personal interest in us. This race is not a warring race at all but a scientific race. This race does not have emotions. They are scientific in nature, and our emotions are something that intensifies their interest in us. We are under their watchful study. These beings are of the very most high scientifically. Most all other beings do not understand them what they have, or what they can do. In this respect, most stay away from them and don't try to find out their strengths or weaknesses. These beings surround our planet. They do have technologies of defending, but nothing nearly as others think. Weapons are not something they have spent their time on as we have. Scientifically and sense of things, destruction doesn't add up in their equations. The dense beings, mostly on account of these scientific beings, leave us alone to keep a war from starting with these beings they know very little about. They do, however, have the ones here to relay to them of any changes in us. If the news goes to them of our change, starting in any real way that can be measured, they will gather forces and come here to war. They will take that chance then of the scientific beings, as in the Greys, and engage in war with them. They will take that chance, because if the prophecies are true about us, then they consider it a threat to their existence. It could mean the people they have conquered would possibly attain freedom, that their own denseness may not be congruent in this new way. Maybe the changes won't be in the ways any of us expect. None of us know what will be affected in which ways. They don't want to take their chances and roll the dice when possibilities seem stacked against them. They will gather forces and start heading for Earth. This will take some time because of the rallying and their distance from here. The Greys, as we have come to know them, as will land in groups around the Earth to tell us we will soon be under attack. In my vision, the authoritative voice said very clearly, "The ones who are first to land in open knowledge are the ones to trust, to go with them and do what they say in order to protect ourselves." I saw them in large scale of multiple ships everywhere around the planet. They were in landed groups with the doors open, making contact and trying to communicate the oncoming danger. They themselves in danger of us attacking them and not hearing their message at all. I think they are counting on the shock of them on such a large scale stopping us from immediately attacking them. A pause long enough for us to hear them. They will need human counterparts to help confirm their claims of what their intentions are. It is my message to you. If we see this event in our lifetime, know that the others are on their way. Whether you trust the Greys or not, know this is the sign they are coming and great danger with it. The Greys are here to help us. They do have technology to defend themselves and us with. They know it won't be enough against an enemy that has evolved in war and strategies. They are also landing to ask for our help in defending ourselves and our planet. If we refuse, they will defend us to the best of their abilities without us. I honestly am not clear on what we can do, but they wouldn't be asking us if there was nothing. A good sign of all this happening is to understand and remember why it is happening. It's happening because we, as a species, have come to change enough. They are mortally concerned the prophecies are true. It means that they have seen enough to risk a war with the Greys, who everyone stays away from because of their knowledge. What has happened that has been reported to them? What has changed in us for them to risk such a thing? Keep this in mind and heart when the news comes of this danger. I don't know if the armies I have seen in spirit come in at this point or not. I don't know where they come in at all. I just know they are here waiting for something. This fight may not be theirs. I do know that the change in us can only happen by releasing fear from our experience. Fear is a tool that the dense creatures use as a weapon. It won't work on the Greys. They don't have emotions as we understand it. It may not be something working so well on us either, as we have been transforming to something transcending fear. This is why they have come. We are evolving our emotions to something greater than misunderstood feelings, but as a human tool. This in itself is a threat to them. This is the vision I had of this. I have painted the picture the best I can. If any or all of this is true, it will be a horrendous time for us as a people. It will be a test of our development of whatever stage we are at that time. Maybe this is the reason for the destructions on the earth I have seen in other visions. I don't know to tell you this. I don't know what order this is in, but I do believe this is before the last call. Only those who believe in who they are as a being, those who want this change to come to them, will survive to the end of the last day of the last call. Illusion and reality. There can be a fine line between illusion and reality. In our lives we have a large mixture of both. We have our projections on others and our world. We also have the projections on us from others and our world. All of these seem to be very real. None of them are at all. We do our daily life living in this world of projecting. Somehow in there sorting out who it is that we are. If we are projecting on someone, we are also identifying with that projection as who we are. That is why we are projecting, because we believe strongly enough in an illusion that we send it out to another. It's almost like a calling card. It's like we are sending out a piece of what we believe to be true in order to make a stamp on someone else to abide by. This shows there is control in this as well. I can say that the projection is an illusion because if it were truth, there would be no need to project it anywhere. Truth just is, and little to do with anyone except yourself. As a recipient of projection like we are talking about, we have many inner experiences and choices. First, we can talk about the experience of being projected onto. I'm sure most people have had this experience and understand what this can feel like. This you may be relating to is when someone has pissed you off and you know it has more to do with the projector than you. Usually in a personal relationship issue. I am not getting into psychiatry or relationship issues. I am bringing you somewhere you may be able to relate to what I'm saying so you can follow. Having someone project onto you can be obvious. It can be hurtful because it is not how you see yourself, and someone is telling you you are what they see. It is at these times we see projection very clearly and easily. These projections are not congruent with how we feel about ourselves inside. When it is thrown at you, it doesn't fit in your mold. It's almost like it doesn't fit, so it bounces off. That's when it becomes an obvious projection from another. It's what they think, or what they want truth to be of you. It comes from a need they have that has very little to do with you, yourself. This causes a lot of immediate inner revelations, and usually is the start of the end of the relationship. The one receiving the projection realizes the other does not really know them, and starts to fade from the connection they have with that person. The fact is that your own projections cause this. All of us are in this world of projecting. The projections go back and forth like wildfire. It just happens you notice this one, and that person is terrible and projecting on you. This can and has gone on for thousands of years. Is this the experience you want to exist in? You think this blindness, blame, and dark fantasy existence will get you to the last day? This kind of projection scenario is a bit more recognizable for people because we get very involved in a coupled relationship, more so than other types of relationship. We put ownership on another person and expect them to carry things out in the correct way, or we stab and punish them for it. That's why I used this example first. I apologize for bringing something so dark feeling. The not so easily seen projections are everything else we do. The other projections we do is pretty much every aspect of our lives. We just don't see them so much. It's pretty hard to use an example of something you don't really see. We go to the store and project on the clerk of who she is and what their worth is. We see children playing doing something we don't like and project on the parents of who they are, what they live like, and their morals. A mass blanket of a picture on a whole group of people and situations. This is done in the blink of an eye. Nothing at all to do with them. It is a wrongful projection of your own judgments on others. They are none of these things you have projected. This controls and directs your life. To be sure, to no good at all. This is what happened from the example of a relationship that was recognized on that one time and never forgiven. We do it all day, on everyone and everything. It all leads to nothing good. The girl at the checkout feels and perceives your projection. She has a choice of what to do from there. We are so conditioned she will most likely accept your judgment and projection as true, rejecting her own ideas and building a self-persona and image on everyone who comes through that checkout today and every day. One of the key points in this scenario is rejecting her own ideas. It is deciding what you know about yourself matters less than what others tell you about yourself. This is an example of how we get buried. This is a way we all lose ourselves and who we are. There is no possible way another can tell you who you are. Only you can. What they are telling you is only about themselves in their projections. It isn't even about you in the first place, yet taking it on as who we are. That small voice inside is who we are. It gets smaller and smaller as it gets buried in this soupy fog bank. The other key point in this example is choice. We have a choice of our experience of the people coming through the checkout and their projections. It's very much like someone offers you a bag of dog poop, and you decide if you would like to take that or not. If you decide to take the person's garbage, you will tidy the little bag up and store it inside yourself somewhere. We have essentially taken someone else's problems and feelings. We think these are true of us because of the projection. When we take too much of other people's garbage on as our own, it will be almost impossible to discern the difference between who you are and where all these other people's ideas are. These feelings and ideas are swirling within yourself. It's hard to decide how you even feel. A huge amount of the feelings you have aren't even yours. They belong to someone else. It can get very confusing. You just choose to take it with you and carry it around. Now imagine if this did not occur at all. When someone decided to dump their garbage to you, and you politely said no, you know who you are. They could keep it with them. If no one else's garbage was within your being, just you and how you feel, how clear and strong that would be. Very little confusion. If there is confusion, it would be because you are actually confused about something, not a general everyday confusion swirling around. There is a genuine feel for oneself. You are the only one in yourself. Decisions are made by you, not what other people have placed on you. When something tries to enter into that place within you, it is very apparent immediately. It does not feel like you. It feels like someone else. The discernment between yourself and another's projection is very easy to spot. This makes it easy to keep it out too. When the garbage we carry around with ourselves isn't our own, it is very hard to remove or release. We try and sort out a feeling or issue within us, and we try to see where it fits, in order that we can heal it and release it. If we find where it fits in our hurts and scars, we can then work on healing it. If the issue isn't your own, if the issue is something that has been projected onto you, the issue then has nowhere that it fits in you because it didn't come from you. The feeling or issue has nowhere to go and makes you feel like you can't help yourself. So it remains in you and causes turmoil that you can't fix. When you realize it isn't your feelings but someone else's that you have taken on as your own, it is very easy to throw it out like trash. It doesn't belong to you. Once you can tell the difference of what yours is and what is not, you can begin clearing this out very quickly. This is a very important step in you clearing away the layers of fog. The fog hides yourself from yourself and others. Decide to start sorting what feelings inside you are yours or someone else's. These feelings have been given to you. You graciously took on these feelings as your own. Once you can tell the difference, it's easy. Just sit and feel yourself. Feel who you are. Get a certain grasp on what it is that you feel like. Then, when an emotion, fear, or reaction to something comes up, compare it to the feeling you found of yourself. Does that emotion or feeling have that feeling of you in it? If it doesn't feel like you, get rid of it. It doesn't belong to you and is garbage. Just let it go and forget about it. That's why it doesn't feel quite right. You may even recognize the feeling of who it came from. Just know that we all do this to each other. No one has done something to you. It just is, and we are changing that. What we are doing is removing our illusion of what this world is, and what our part is in it. When all that is left within you is yourself, you have created a new being for yourself to experience. From this clear, strong, solid place within you, it is much easier to join with the one of who you are. That one who views everything through your eyes with no attachment or fear. A reality of our world is we are doing this to each other continuously, without stopping. It has become how we exist here. Blame, finger-pointing, no self-responsibility, projecting on to others our fears and judgments. When another person has very little to do with you, very little, except they have incarnated here around the same time as you have. That's pretty much it. That includes your mother and father. Do you think they really had much to do with your birth? In truth, you just came here. Your parents in truth ended up with a child which they hardly know why it even came. They know they had sex, raising you. Do any of us know what the hell is going on enough to say we know just what we are doing with a child? So in reality, your parents were blindly raising a child. They hardly know where it came from and hardly know where we are. They can hardly tell you what to do here. Hence, you both have just incarnated here around the same time. That's pretty much it. They don't even know who you are. An illusion of our world is we are these directionless people who don't know who we are or where we are going. We have no soul, just lumps of meat walking around that are victims of our environment. We have people that keep doing things to us. If that description isn't you, you have fought out of this mess and become someone on top of the terrible, dirty, less than people who have this trailer park mentality. You have become stronger, or just naturally are stronger than these people. Clearer and healthier. If this describes you, you should close this book and throw it away because you haven't learned a damn thing, and good luck. A positive projection on oneself is still a projection. It does no good for anyone, including yourself. Just like the rest of us, if you are on top, you are suffering just the same. You are in the first description, you just don't know it. It is easier to push a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. If anyone has been able to come this far in the book thinking in such a way as they are still higher than others or do better than others, it can only be they are reading because it's trendy. They don't believe they need any help or change. They want to say they read it to be in with their friends. Understanding it has been like hitting the book on their forehead continuously just to get through it. All the while wondering why the hell someone told them to read it. There is a wall there. The wall is not wanting any change. This book is about change. To remain in this world and read this book at the same time cannot be a pleasant experience. It is the same as the groups of people that are crazed. The ones I described as thinking they were Jesus Christ. Them and their followers not accepting the messages coming from within themselves, to a point of being crazed and violent. The information coming from within they won't recognize as being truth. This information is coming from without as it should, and one is trying to ignore the truth. We are still early in our changes as a planet, so ignoring truths won't affect them as much right now. It will though as time goes by. This is not necessarily a self-help book to help you feel better. Don't forget what this book is about and what it is for. The journey I have brought you through is to help you understand who you are and where we are going. Where you are going. You may need to read this book or chapters from it many times. There is a lot hidden in plain sight. The final creation. This little book is not a normal book. This book is meant to transform you through this time in your life and everyone that is on this planet's life. As beings that have incarnated here at this auspicious time in our history, you have chosen to be here for this challenge, along with the billions of others who have come. The chance to take part in such an event that has never before been in all of creation. This is not an ending but truly a beginning. It is the last call because He will no longer need to call us anymore. We will already be there. Wherever there is, that is where we will be. The time that starts after all this convolution and turmoil is a time that is all creation creating through individuals. We will have the power to create. Creation will create through us. That is what has been created from all of this that I have told you. A whole new being. One with God, one with themselves, one with animals, one with all things. We are back in the Garden of Eden. The sure-souled difference is, we chose to be there. That is what the entire 10,000-year age has been. For us to choose to be in the garden. As we were first created in the garden, we were this same way in what I have described. Why we have gone through a millennium of turmoil and change has been to choose. The Dark One's job has been to cover our eyes and tell us lies so we can try and find our way out to the truth. Our first appearance in the garden was not by choice, but by our creation. We lived in this way of being one like a mindless robot. It was pleasant but not much of a creation. We were only one with all because we were made to be that way. We as a creature knew nothing else. The millennium of learning we have gone through as a species to get to this point has all been to choose to be in the garden where we belong. Even to fight everything that is against us to be there. That is the new creation. That creation that chose and fought to be in the garden. One with God, themselves and all others. The angels said they would bow to such a creation. That creation is worthy of being able to create. If we hang on to attachment, judgments and fears, we cannot ever be these beings in the garden. With keeping this vision as the final goal, your work to do and letting go of things that don't matter will make a lot more sense to you. Keep this vision of the final goal with you as you travel along your journey to yourself. Remember, the garden is where we are going. That is why we cannot be given the creation of God until we change from the attachments and fears. We could never be entrusted with a power such as what God's final creation can do. As the true beings that we truly are who fought and chose to be in the garden. An understanding of one with all things in our balance. This will be His greatest creation. God will then rest. I send my love to you and hope for us all. If this vision I have been given is true, I ask for all the help available in the universe's creation to help us, as we are not very good at things a lot of times. To carry us, transform us, bring us home. The only thing you need to do for yourself is be willing. I cannot tell you what happens after the last call, other than our transformation to a different creation. I have seen we definitely have a different body and a different existence. I know being one is also true. How things are experienced and what the transformation looks like is all our own trust. That trust that has to be put in faith in Him. This is a quotation from Yehoshua that has inspired me. It has helped me find my way. It means a lot to me what he said. This type of thing is held back or hidden from most. Enjoy. John 17 verse 20. I am praying not only for these disciples but also for all who will ever believe in me through their message. I pray that they will all be one, just as you and I are one, as you are in me, Father, and I am in you. And may they be in us, so that the world will believe you sent me. I have given them the glory you gave me, so they may be one as we are one. I am in them and you are in me. May they experience such perfect unity, that the world will know that you sent me and that you love them as much as you love me. Father, I want these whom you have given me to be with me where I am. Then they can see all the glory you gave me, because you loved me, even before the world began. O righteous Father, the world doesn't know you, but I do, and these disciples know you sent me. I have revealed you to them, and I will continue to do so. Then your love for me will be in them, and I will be in them. Until we meet again, my friends, I in you and you in me. Peace, Shalom, Namaskar, Salam, Santi, Pagadate, Pyongwa, Heping, and the many more. Onita's Jonathan Bowden. An inspiration to me was seeing Jim Carrey say the things he did in public interviews in 2017. I could understand his message. You might want to see the videos of the things he was saying again. You just might now hear what he is saying and realize he isn't crazy. He is seeing the garden. I believe he may be one of the first speakers, of the many who are to come that I have spoken to you about. It has started. From the author. If you have enjoyed this book, I do request one tithe. Please leave a message of what you got from this book on Amazon or Kobo or where you can. Regards. Onita's J. Bowden. Favorite authors and book. Deepak Chopra, Reinventing the Body, Resurrecting the Soul. Deepak Chopra, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success.